This fourth Sunday of Easter is also known as Good Shepherd Sunday because the gospel selection is from passages from the Gospel of John in which Jesus describes himself as a shepherd. As we have just heard in the gospel, he's a shepherd, he's the gate for the flock, he's the one who cares for and the sheep knows his name. The good shepherd in the Bible is one who leads and guides his flock, his people. He seeks out the lost and binds up the wounds of those who have been injured. He gathers together his people and keeps them safe. And Jesus describes this relationship, the relationship between the shepherd and his people, as one of closeness, of intimacy and familiarity. He knows each one and calls them by name. And they know him. They recognize his voice. For me, this image of Jesus as the Good Shepherd is very consoling at this time. In my residence, I have a picture of the Good Shepherd in my chapel. It's a picture of the shepherd, Jesus, holding a lamb. It's a black lamb, the black sheep, and he's looking tenderly upon this lamb. I spent time gazing at it in this picture in prayer, and I draw peace and strength from that image of Jesus as one who is compassionate, who reaches out to us, who watches over us with care and concern. One of the most popular psalms in the Bible is Psalm 23, which was our responsorial psalm today at Mass. It begins with this declaration: "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." The psalm goes on to describe poetically the ways God shepherds us, giving us rest in green pastures beside restful waters. He refreshes us and guides us on the right paths. With God at our side, we draw courage as we walk through threatening dark valleys. And God will provide, spreading a table, a banquet before our foes, and anointing our head with oil. Our lives will be filled with blessings. I know many people who share this conviction Psalm 23 sets forth. They've gone through hardships, great difficulties, but always believe that no matter what happens, God will be there for them. God will carry them through whatever storms may come, because this is what they've experienced already in their lives. Get lost and cannot find the way, God will find them and lead them on the right path. We have and will have dark moments in our lives, the dark valley the psalm describes. We each have our share of struggles, some tougher than others. It could be situations such as unemployment, which millions in our country today find themselves in. It could be long bouts of anxiety or depression, truly deep, dark valleys. Psalm 23 talks about having faith in the Good Shepherd to the point that even as we walk through those dark valleys, we will fear no evil, for God is at our side. You know, in the gospel, Jesus often says to us, "Do not be afraid." In fact, throughout the Bible, this is repeated over 350 times. Do not be afraid. Put your trust in God. Put your trust in the Good Shepherd, for he will lead you. The great saint and Carmelite mystic, Saint Teresa Avila, once wrote a poem, and he put those words in this way: "Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. The one who has God finds he needs nothing. God alone suffices. God is enough. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Hearing these words, though, often feels more easily said than done. It's natural to have fears, apprehensions, worries. There's a lot of things to worry about, There's a lot of things to be afraid of, but we have to overcome them in order to move forward and live fully. We just can't get stuck in those fears. And our faith in God helps us to do this. And sometimes in retrospect that we can look back and see the Good Shepherd leading us and guiding us to different moments of life. I look back at my life and sometimes just marvel how I have come all this far in my life, how I got through some of the things I went through. And I'm grateful because I could see God's hand in it. And I'm not the only one who's looked back and saw God's guidance and providence. Many have. It's one reason why we could say we've been blessed. I look at the lives of others and see the same. My parents' generation, maybe some of you are part of that, have been called the greatest generation. The greatest generation. They lived through very challenging times. The 1917 flu pandemic. My mother remembers this. She was a little girl at the time. The Great Depression, World War II, the Cold War, the turmoil of the 1960s. I know that for my parents, it was their faith in God that brought them through the cataclysmic events of the 20th century, as many others did. And as many others, they had faith in the Good Shepherd and persevered through many a dark valley to experience an abundance of blessings. The COVID-19 pandemic is unprecedented, something few have ever experienced before. As we find ourselves in this moment, let's look to the Good Shepherd. Let Psalm 23 be the prayer of our hearts, a prayer of confidence in God's providence and presence, a prayer of hope that only goodness and kindness follow us the days of our lives, where Jesus Christ has come, and he came so that we might have life and have it more abundantly.